Good morning. It's Monday again, and we're going to start back on Granny Shares the Bible in Matthew 27 and 26. Then released he Barabbas unto them, and when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the common hall, and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers. And they stripped him, and put on him a scarlet robe. And when they had platted a crown of thorns, they put it upon his head, and a reed in his right hand. And they bowed the knee before him, and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews! And they spit upon him, and took the reed, and smote him on the head. And after that they had mocked him, they took the robe off from him, and put his own raiment on him, and led him away to crucify him. This is morning here in Florida, and I don't know if you understand, but it was morning then. It was morning. And usually in the morning you feel like, oh, this is a new day. I'm going to try to do my best in this day, and I'm glad to see the sun come up. It feels good just to be alive. But then we read about this morning when they platted a crown of thorns. They put it upon his head, and a reed in his right hand. And they bowed the knee before him, and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews! And they spit upon him, and took the reed, and smote him on the head. And then they just took that scarlet robe off of him, and put his own raiment on him, and led him away to crucify him. So that's the morning that Jesus had. And it wasn't a very happy morning for him. And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross. And when they were come unto a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of a skull, they gave him vinegar to drink, mingled with gall. And when he had tasted thereof, he would not drink. So they gave him something that was supposed to deaden the pain, that gall, I guess, vinegar mingled with gall. And he tasted it, and he knew that's what it was for, and he wouldn't drink it. And they crucified him, and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. And sitting down, they watched him there, and set over his head his accusation written, This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. What an accusation. But let me just tell you, the Jews have suffered much persecution. They have suffered much over the years since all this happened. And so he was persecuted and slain for our sakes, for us, for all of us, the Jews, the Gentiles, everybody. And he was crucified. You know, if we look back, let's look back into Isaiah chapter 53. It really talks about what he went through, and talks about why. Verse 5 says, But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. Isn't that wonderful? This is why Jesus suffered this in that morning back there so long ago. He suffered for us. He was wounded for our transgressions. That's why he was crucified, why they nailed him to the cross. It was to suffer for our sins, our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. All this happened to him because we were sinners. The chastisement of our peace was upon him. We needed him to be chastised for us so that we could be at peace. And with his stripes we are healed. When they scourged him, when they whipped him, it was so that we could be healed. He was perfect. He was 33 years old, and there was nothing, no mar in him, nothing. We'll look back in chapter 52. It says, as many were astonished at this, his visage was so marred more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men. He became sin for us, who knew no sin. He didn't know sin, but he became sin for us on that cross. He was like a sheep led to the slaughter. As a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shears is dumb, so he openeth not his mouth. He just was willing to do just as the Father wanted him to do, and that was to take our place on the cross. He took my place. I don't know what I ought to do to fill up what is behind his sufferings. I'm not sure. But I want to do whatever I can, because he did what he could. And I'm his bride. I'm his bride. I am. You are too, are you? And I want to do what he wants me to do. And if he wants me to be wounded for him, let me be. Just give me the grace to be. This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. Then were there two thieves crucified with him, one on the right hand and another on the left. And they that passed by reviled him, wagging their heads, and saying, Thou that destroyest the temple and buildest it in 3 days, save thyself. If thou be the Son of God, come down from the cross. Likewise also the chief priests, mocking him with the scribes and elders, said, He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he be the King of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him. He trusted in God, let him deliver him now, if he will have him. For he said, I am the Son of God. The thieves also which were crucified with him cast the same in his teeth. So all of them were against him. Everybody that was there that crucified him, that were standing under him. I know that there were others that believed in him that were standing there, but they had no power. And I'm sure that they just watched him without understanding what to do. He trusted in God, let him deliver him now, if he will have him. For he said, I am the Son of God. You know, it doesn't say it here, but when it says the thieves also which were crucified with him cast the same in his teeth, we find that one of them repented. So, because I guess both of them were reviling him. But then that one thief, we find out, and Luke repented. So then it says, now from the 6th hour there was all darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. The 6th hour would be 12 or noon, 12 o'clock noon, and the 9th hour would be a 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And about the 9th hour, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Jesus cried with a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Some of them that stood there when they heard that said, This man calleth for Elias. And straightway one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar and put it on a reed and gave him to drink. The rest said, Let be. Let us see whether Elias will come to save him. I don't know what those under the cross, the chief priest and all of them and elders, I don't know what they expected, because it seemed like that they didn't really know what to believe about Jesus. They knew he had done miracles. They knew he had raised people from the dead. They knew it. What did they expect of Jesus? Did they expect him to come down? They weren't afraid to mock him. They weren't afraid to believe that those nails were going to hold him and that there was no way he was going to come down. They weren't afraid to believe that he was going to die right there. They weren't afraid that he would come down. And that they'd heard, they knew of all the miracles that he had done. So they knew he could. They knew he could. But somehow they knew he wasn't going to. That he wouldn't. And that they were safe to mock him. I don't know what all of them thought. And when he cried without loud voice, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Does it mean that Jesus didn't know what he was going to go through when he died on the cross? Maybe he knew that he would, but he never experienced it before, being without the Father. Oh my. Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. I know he had to do that. I know he endured the cross for the joy that was set before him. I know he did. I love him and I appreciate him for doing it. Never be able to repay him. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom. And the earth did quake, and the rocks rent, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. This was a very very special time in all of eternity. Hallelujah. The veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom. It was a very big, big veil. Huge, heavy. And it was not rent from the bottom up like somebody had torn it. It was torn in half from the top to the bottom. And the earth did quake and the rocks rent. So they got to see something. They got to see, those people that were mocking him, they got to see something fearful. And they needed to see something fearful. They needed to realize, as they mocked him, that this was not just a nobody that they were crucifying and getting out of their hair. Now when the centurion and they that were with him, watching Jesus, saw the earthquake and those things that were done, they feared greatly, saying, Truly this was the Son of God. Truly this was the Son of God. They didn't know God. The centurion didn't know God. Many of them didn't know God. But they knew that he was somebody so wonderful that that's all that he could have been, was the Son of God. I mean, he wasn't just a normal person just dying on the cross. He made all the difference in my life. He wants to make all the difference in every one of our lives. If you're watching this today and you've been cold and indifferent toward the Lord, and it's just something that's told you that he was crucified, I want you to think about what he gave for you, what he did for you, and how it was for you. People put it off from themselves by saying he died for everybody. But it is not that way. He died for me. He died for you. He's personally involved with our lives. We know it. We know that he cares. Don't we? Don't we? We do. I'm going to go. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless you.